What America chooses to save is what America chooses to say about itself. Happy 50th birthday, Endangered Species Act. In 1973, the Endangered Species Act was born amid widespread acclaim. The House enacted the bill, 355 votes to 4. Why so popular? They realized, and most Americans today realize, biodiversity that surrounds us constitutes a treasure, a kind of undeserved gift that comes with being born into this world, and that we have an obligation to take steps to avoid losing that, prevent actions that we humans undertake that are going to crowd out other fellow citizens of planet Earth.
I'm here in Southern California visiting some family, and yesterday I had the privilege of seeing some California condors on my hike. This population was nearly extinct in 1987 due to lead poisoning. I feel lucky that thanks to the Endangered Species Act, I've been able to appreciate the beauty and majesty of this beautiful bird. Similarly, I visited Yellowstone National Park in September of this year, and I got to see grizzly bears and wolves, which at various points in their history at Yellowstone National Park were almost extinct. Again, thanks to the Endangered Species Act, the reintroduction of these species has allowed for them to flourish, and so future generations can appreciate the beauty and majesty of these species.
Now, there are a variety of different amendments to, or even additions to the Endangered Species Act that I would recommend in order to enhance their effectiveness. First of all, tailoring the protections for listed species and their habitats based on their level of vulnerability. Secondly, revising sort of incidental take authorization standards, the standards that we allow for the harming of species to move towards a no net loss or a full mitigation. Recovery planning really is a key to Endangered Species Act and a key to endangered species success, but they've been insufficiently funded and it really isn't required in any sort of rigorous way. Next, I would also suggest that we need to really provide incentives for species conservation on private lands, on state lands, and on federal lands. And then lastly, we really need to sort of improve the generation, the quality, and the public dissemination of data that is out there. And there are lots of different technologies out there that really can be implemented by the agencies in order to improve this sort of learning infrastructure to promote species conservation and recovery.
Hawaii is called the endangered species capital of the world. Even though Hawaii is known as the endangered species capital of the world, Hawaii only receives 8 to 10% of the federal funding appropriated under the Endangered Species Act for the recovery of endangered or threatened species.
There are definitely some innovative conservation techniques and technologies that are showing promise. My hope is that over the next decades, these are really going to be incorporated into the Endangered Species Act strategies. One of those is really fundamentally assisted migration. And this is really the intentional movement of species outside their native range to help species adapt to climate change. Another one is sort of like biotechnologies like CRISPR. Third, better funding and mandating recovery planning. Used correctly, these two approaches really raise some promise for helping conservation agencies and groups help species adapt to improve their resilience and really adapt to climate change.
The ESA also has a pretty broad citizen suit provision that allows interested parties to enforce the statute, to challenge federal actions that aren't adequately protecting listed species, or even to challenge the actions of a third party. In Oregon, some organizations challenged the state of Oregon and its management of state forests as not adequately protecting the nesting habitat of marbled murrelets, and thus causing an illegal take or killing of marbled murrelets by essentially cutting down their habitat. That action was successful, and it's really forced the state to craft better management policies for state forests.
Why did the opponents of the Endangered Species Act oppose the Endangered Species Act?
Some of the opposition to the Endangered Species Act just arises from simple misunderstandings of the law, but others perceive the statute as slowing down economic development or inhibiting property rights. So when we cut down trees, the trees have value and you can sell timber on the market. And oftentimes forest landowners or timber companies, that's kind of all they think about is, well, what's the bottom line? How much money can we get from these trees? And that essentially discounts a lot of other costs imposed on society.
What gift would I like to see given this great birthday for the Endangered Species Act? We need the gift of a law that will extend the endangered species safety net to species before they reach this emergency room need, before they reach this dire situation where we could barely afford to lose just a very few in their number.
I want to thank the Endangered Species Act for allowing me to have this beautiful life and appreciate all of this natural beauty around me, and I hope many generations in the future can do the same.